today's video, we're gonna be taking a look at the brand new iPhone 16 Pro, and specifically, we're gonna be looking at the brand new photo styles. I'm gonna walk you guys through how to use them and some of the limitations that Apple's actually put on them that I'm not super fond of, but I mean, there are software updates. And of course, we're gonna talk about the camera button and what people like and what people don't like. Let's get into it. First, let's go over how to use the brand new styles on the iPhone, and then we'll talk about a few things that I wish they would change or adjust in some firmware updates that'll make it better for us as creators. But as you can see, you can scroll through here and you can see all the different looks that they have given you. I'm gonna swipe over and we're gonna start with the dramatic profile. Now, the way that these work is you tap in, and then if you move the adjustment up, you're going to brighten the image. If you move it down, you're going to darken the image and make it moody. If you move it left, you're going to go more into a desaturated version of that palette, and right, you're going to have a more saturated version of that palette. So if you go up to the right, you're gonna have a brighter, more color saturated version. If you go up to the left, you're gonna have a brighter, less saturated version. Down to the left, you're gonna have a darker, less saturated, and down to the right, you're going to have a darker, more saturated version. And what's cool about this is once you've found a tone and color that you like, you can still adjust this slider on the bottom, which essentially adjusts how much of that palette that you're going to use. And you can see in the upper right-hand corner there how much it's adjusting the opacity essentially of that LUT, preset, look, or style. So you can dial into taste and then adjust the opacity of that style, which is really cool. One thing I really appreciate about the styles here is if you swipe through, you can see that these buttons or knobs have moved and they've stayed in positions that I've placed them on previous photos. So if you enjoy a specific way of using a style, it's not gonna reset or go back to center for every time you use that style. It's gonna stay how you previously used it on a different photo, which is kind of cool. I actually do like that, so you don't always have to be changing your style back to what you're used to using or your particular way of using it. Now, if you want to copy your settings from this photo to a different photo, you just tap the three dots in the top right corner and hit copy edits. Then you pick which ones you want to copy. In this case, we only have the style adjusted. We're going to copy that. If you want to paste that style, you then just tap those three dots again and hit paste edits down below there. Now, something to note here is that if you shot on a different phone that doesn't have photographic styles, or you shot in RAW, then you won't be able to paste those styles across, which we'll get into a little bit later. One additional feature I do enjoy about the UI of the photographic styles is you don't actually have to swipe through each color profile. You can actually just tap and drag on this to slide through them. A really helpful feature when you just want to go to the style you know you already like. Now, that's photographic styles and how to use them, which I think is pretty awesome. But some things that I wish Apple might change in some future software updates is the ability to actually use these styles on photos that are not shot on the iPhone 16 Pro. Because here's the thing. If you find a look that you like and you start enjoying using that color style specifically, let's say for example, you shoot on a camera that isn't your iPhone, and then you push that photo over to your iPhone, you cannot use that photographic style on anything that's not shot on iPhone. Now, my understanding for this is because you're using computational technology to take the photo with this phone, which is helping Apple to interpret the layers and the skin tones and those types of things. But just be aware that if you enjoy using photographic styles, you may not be able to use it on all your photos going forward. You might only be able to use it in just the photos you take with your iPhone. Hopefully that can be adjusted. Come on, Apple, give us access to this beyond just shooting on our iPhone, because I'd love to use these styles on photos that I take with my proper cameras. Additionally, I do wish you could double tap or have an adjustment button somewhere so you could just reset everything back to center. Otherwise, you just have to move everything back yourself. And even pressing the reset button in the top there only resets the opacity of that palette. It doesn't change the tone or the color. Additionally, if you're shooting on RAW on your iPhone, which I highly recommend, obviously you can get the best photo capabilities out of these new lenses, but then you can no longer use the photographic styles because you've shot in RAW and it didn't use the computational stuff to take that photo. So just be aware there are huge limitations to the photographic styles at this point. And lastly, before we move on to the camera button, my phone gets really warm when I'm using these photographic styles, specifically when I'm adjusting it live But also when I was fiddling with all these photographic styles to tell you guys about them, my phone got super warm. So just be aware, I think it's using a lot of the computational ability of your phone to be able to do this. As someone who is a professional photographer, I don't know if I'll use them all the time, but they are fun tools. I just wanted you guys to be aware of the limitations that Apple didn't really tell us about when it comes to these new styles. I think they're great. I think they'll be a lot of fun for us to play with and adjust and find your personal favorite style and preset or whatever you like about them. But do be aware, there are limitations and they can't be used on all of your photos. All right, let's talk about the brand new camera button. Some of you are coming from the iPhone 15. I understand that this is a very small upgrade for you guys, but someone who's coming from the iPhone 14, I'm getting some pretty big upgrades on my cameras. So if you're a normal human being who doesn't get a phone every single year, then maybe it is worth upgrading for you at this point. I know for me with my 14 Pro Max, it was worth it. But if we're talking about the hardware and the new adjustment to this camera button that's on the side here, it does take a little bit of getting used to. I honestly don't mind it. I like the ability to just press that button and get into my camera settings really quickly. Something I also like about this is with the addition of iOS 18, typically that camera button is always on your home screen, but now you are able to change and adjust that home screen so those buttons on the front can be anything you want them to be. So where that bottom right one was always my camera and I was used to hard pressing on that to get in or swiping, now I can just quickly press this button here and I can now change those other buttons to be other apps that I love to use. Now, I don't think that I'm going to use this camera button the way that Apple has necessarily designed it to be, as I find once I have my settings set, I'm not gonna change them a whole lot. I tend to just set my exposure and take the photo. Now, the beauty of it is this is right there and you can do it very quickly. And one of my favorite features is actually the ability to press and hold, and very quickly we are shooting video, so you're not missing any moments anymore. One thing I wish I could do with the camera button is change it so when I open it, it automatically opens on the ultra wide lens instead of the standard wide lens. Having the ability to pick which camera lens you are in right when you get in there would be a really nice welcome feature for me. Now, as I said earlier, it does take a bit of getting used to when it comes to the haptic feedback of this button. You do get it pretty quick, but I also find I tend to use two hands anyways. Once I open up that menu, I tend to use my thumb to scroll around to the ones that I want. So it's not bad and you're able to adjust it, and then you're also able to swipe away that UI. And of course, when Apple comes up with the Apple Intelligence, I think there's gonna be a lot more features for using this button as well. So for now, we're a little bit limited and it is a bit quirky and odd, but I am enjoying it. And I know that that's not everyone's opinion, but for now, I'm liking it. And I do think that with some software updates, we'll be able to do a lot more with this button than is currently programmed. Now, as I was shooting with my buddy, Davey, he actually has a completely different opinion than me because he's actually coming from the iPhone 15 Pro. From the perspective of a photographer, I think these phones have been incredibly capable ever since you could shoot RAW with these phones. Obviously, that gives you the most ability to adjust any of the photo settings and colors and those kinds of things. A lot of the things that are released to us now are just kind of a little bit gimmicky, but it's up to you whether or not you enjoy them and use them. As a professional, I probably won't use them a whole lot, but they are fun to tinker with. And if you want to do a quick post and you find a photographic style you really like, then maybe it will actually be good for you. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are on the 16s and 16 Pro new phones. Obviously, we're limited to not having Apple Intelligence in them at this point, so the changes aren't that drastic. But I'd love to know your guys' thoughts. Are you picking one up or not? Let me know in the comments down below. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up for me. Make sure to go check out Davey's video as well, and you might like that video there. I do hope to see you guys in the next video. See you there. Peace.